Hello everyone and welcome back to another F1 22 video. As you can see from the title, we've got a last and first challenge around Imola and we are driving a Charles Leclerc, and it's going to be starting in the full wet conditions and ending in the full dry. So you'll be able to see a transition from the full wet to intermediate to the dry tyres as well. Whether we use all the tyres or not, you'll have to wait and see. But I can already tell you, the race is going to be amazing, and it's going to end in a good fight on the final lap. But you're going to see that later on in the video. What I'm doing right now is I'm fast forwarding the formation lap, so you can still understand how the formation lap feels in terms of warming up the tyres and what is necessary to do. Because I think it's actually quite important for people watching this video. So when the game does come out fully in late June, early July, depending on what one you buy the Deluxe Edition or not, being able to jump on and be fast straight away is something that we all want. You can see I'm just messing around with the AI here to see if they're going to do anything funny. I do go around the outside of Albon and he just gives me the position, but again, it's the beta. Normal things can happen like this, and I'm confident Codemasters will patch that, that they won't hold themselves up on the apex. But you can see I'm really scrubbing these front tyres as hard as possible, and they're not warming up that much on the front tyre. Like, the surface temperature is going up, but you can see in the space of like 2 or 3 corners from fully scrubbing the tyre, I only gain like 2 or 3 degrees on the core temperature. What is not a lot, and I don't know about tyre temperature in real life, but I presume that to be quite realistic, because let's be honest as well, like 99% of sim racers are all just presuming what's realistic. We haven't actually driven a Formula 1 car. Most of us haven't even driven a real racing car. I've had the chance to do work on the Mercedes simulator, develop their car, so I understand a little bit, but like I say, I'm still presuming what a Formula 1 car is like, because I've not driven one in real life. Like I say, I presume that's a correct feature, and the car does feel good. But you can see doing lots of burnouts up to the grid spot, and I like this feature. You know, it's going to pull up, and it's going to be critical in Formula 1 esports later in the year, because nailing this will give you an advantage over the start, and F1 esports is so tight that getting any advantage is critical. But because of the burnouts that I did, I got a really good rear tyre temperature, so I'm expecting a good start here. Lights out, away we go. And you can see a little bit of wheel spin initially, but then pick up amazing traction. I actually happened to lift out the throttle to not hit Latifi there. But now we're deploying battery, and we're going to go to the outside. But you can see we're back out there, nowhere to go. But there's been a massive shunt with Albon and Vettel. We just about avoid hitting our front wing.
I've got information on Albon. They're retiring from the
but now we've got a virtual safety car, we'll turn into a full safety car, and we are going to quickly look back at that, because, wow, that was quite intense, isn't it? And you see we catch the end of the accident, and the car's absolutely skidding off. Albon, I think he needs to dye his hair red again because he's out of the race. But you can see I'm checking the weather, and I do hit the back of the Latifi. I am driving on full simulation damage, so you can see that I was actually quite good. That small amount of contact did cost me most of my front wing, really, as it would do in real life. And you see, we are going to go to the intermediate tyres. I'm last place anyway, now with a damaged wing. We might as well box and do something a bit different, because remember on the strategy page at the start of the race, is showing that it's going to go from inter to dry. You've got Perez in the pit lane as well, just changing the front wing. He's going to stay on the full wet, so it's going to give us quite a nice comparison. But we did get purple. Again, another feature was going to be critical in Formula 1 esports later in this year. And we are going to be skipping to the outlap, actually. We don't need to do that boring stuff going down the pit lane, you know. We don't want any filler content, we just want all action. But you can see, there's not that much grip. Perez, in the space of 2 corners, has pulled away half a second to me. You can see, I'm skidding around. I haven't got much grip on the water. As you see, skipping to the end of the safety car thing. And the thing where it still cuts the throttle is still there, which is a bit annoying, to be honest. Hopefully it's removed the full game. Like a people said, it is still a beta. But, you can see, coming out of the final corner, I've got no traction. The tyres are stone cold. You can see, bright blue, and they need to be about 8 degrees hotter to be giving good grip. So down turn 1, brake as late as possible. So it is critical to be fast in this sequence. See, Perez and Latifi are battling, but I've got no grip. I just fundamentally am sliding around, and I need to generate some tyre temperature. And this is an amazing feature on this game. It's how you actually need to build tyre temperature to get grip. Before in the previous games, you could come out the pit lane and you could be more or less straight away on the good tyre temperatures, but on this game you really need to focus to build up tyre temperatures. 1.4 seconds to Perez in front of me. That's how much I've lost just trying to warm up the tyres. So undercuts, overcuts are going to be a much bigger feature. You can see the tyres are still quite cold, only 2 degrees hotter. But now, lap 5, going round the outside of Sergio Perez into Aqua Minerale. And now the intermediates are starting to switch on. So again, a bit more of a realistic transition over from the inters not working to getting tyre temperature. Now they are fully switched on. The track is drying up. End of lap 5, start of lap 6. And this is where the strategy is going to get interesting. You see, we've got Yuki Tsunoda boxing for intermediate tyres. There's only 10 laps to go in this race. And you see, we're going to be breezing past the PP quite relatively. I don't want to be pressing my battery. I need to save it for later in the race. See, yellow flags up ahead. We are ahead into the braking zone. But then Latifi does get us back. You see, there's absolute carnage. So we stay super cautious with the simulation damage. I don't want to risk any damage at all. See, we do get boxed in though from Hamilton. Which means we have to back out of it. But I do think about going up the inside there. But I think much better of it. Hamilton sends it round the outside. Latifi, what a move though. Get a bit squirrely on the exit. We tried to go to the outside, but back out of it again. It's not worth going 3 wide into there. Now looking for the perfect exit up the hill. Getting the car straight. We can see getting a little bit of woods, but not perfect on the exit. But now we are pressuring Latifi, holding the battery open, going to the outside. Latifi sets up the inside of Hamilton, goes a bit deep, and that gives us the prime opportunity to go past, almost making contact with Latifi on the corner exit as well. But you now see the same lap, and now getting a good run on Hamilton, going to the outside. He does defend, going onto the inside of the second last corner. But you see, we're fully ahead, and then he brakes so much later, almost making contact again. And I love this feature from the AI that they're fighting, you know. Like, they are really sending it into performance. Hamilton does box for a set of intermediate tyres though. But now, this is like I alluded to earlier. The grid is split. There's many cars staying out from the full wet tyres, even in intermediate condition. And the strategy is so much better from the AI from this. But you can see they are losing time. We get much better traction up and over the hill into the chicane. You do see we think better of it though. And we go for a switchback on Lando Norris to try and get a better traction out of the chicane. And we do indeed. Now open up the gears, open up the throttle, and we are flying past. You see that Lando Norris is coming back on us though. So he's being super aggressive. Now, about the same point we braked. But you see inside line, better grip on the tyres. Move was quite easy in the end of it. Now you see we've got Wan Yu Zhou up ahead, but does box, so that is very lucky for us. And now coming over the start finish line, doing a 26.9. And that's relative because that's relevant because you're going to see how much the track grips up. We do a purple sector 1, and now we are really stuck in traffic. And this is when I start to realise that the people in the wet are staying out until it goes to full dry conditions. So up the inside of Schumacher, and now this is really where we need to get a move on. Because of the time that we lost being on the worst tyres at the start, you see going a bit wide there, a bit over enthusiastic with the grip behind Lance Stroll. So we will be looking to do a switchback out of the chicane and try and better him on the traction. But as I was talking about, while I boxed and lost time on the first initial laps, I was 3-4 seconds a lap slower than Max Verstappen leading this race. So right now, Max is like 25, 27 seconds in the lead. Sergio Perez did box for the Inters as well, doing the fastest lap of the race. Up the inside of Max, and you see the grip is so much higher right now. It's easy. But Gasly up next. End of lap 9. We are flying through this race. If you are enjoying this video, be sure to hit a like, hit subscribe as well. I am going to have more F1 22 content coming out as well. So much content. Career mode, hot laps, setup guides are going to be coming out when the full game is released as well. But you see, breezing past Gasly on the straight. Esteban Ocon up next. We need to get a perfect exit out of this final corner. Scrub the curve a little bit. You see, short shift to 5th. But we didn't do that. We didn't need the traction. But now pressing the battery 4 tenths behind. The evil eye views of you would have seen that I went for the low downforce setup at the start of the video. And now this is really helping us. It hurt us to get tyre temperature at the start of the stint. But now it's really helping us to drag alongside. See, side by side. And Esteban Ocon does actually spin out behind us, causing a yellow flag. And we are going to have a quick look at that. And you can see going onto the replay side by side, Esteban Ocon sends it down the inside, but it gets a bit too trigger happy on the throttle and does a half spin onto the gravel. But again, this feature is really cool from the AI in my opinion. They are doing these little mistakes. They are fighting you into the braking zone as well. But you can see, only 5 laps to go in this race now. And I can't even see Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is long gone in distance, but my tyres are so much faster right now. And it is going to dry up in the next 1 or 2 laps. You can see closing up
some of those puddles
on
are clearing.
to
He's
Sainz.
definitely on the right tyre for the time being, but we're probably not a million miles away from slick conditions.
And you can see the engineer, not Jeff, rip Jeff, unlucky for Jeff, he's been fired this game, is saying it's pretty close to dry conditions. I would agree with that. And you see breezing past Sainz, easy overtake. But look on the bottom left, Max Verstappen has just gone over the start-finish line, what means he's roughly 15 seconds in front of us. And we've only got 5 laps to close that gap. It's going to be close. And you see breezing past Alonso using the battery. We have to make sure that we're not battling at all. We can't afford any time loss. And we do the fastest lap of the race despite the overtake. So our tyres are really working and the track is drying out nicely. A massive improvement to this game, I would say, is how the intermediates work on a drying track. The same for the full wet. On the previous games, the tyres would just overheat and you'd have zero grip, zero drivability. Whereas now, even though the track is becoming a bit drier, it's actually nice to drive and much more realistic. You can see, well, at least like I say, what I presume to be realistic, because I haven't driven intermediate tyres on a Formula 1 car ever. But you can see much better grip than Russell. But Russell is fighting back, and I'd say I was a bit surprised to see the Mercedes up in P2. So Russell was doing a really good job. Again, he was quite quick on the intermediates here in real life. So again, good simulation from Codemasters there. But lap 13, you can see running a little bit wide. But DRS has now been enabled, what does mean the dry tyres are now faster than the wet tyres. And you can see my engineer does confirm that with me by saying to check the MFD, what means he is preparing a set of dry tyres for us. And now we're in a really awkward position. We've got 7.4 seconds to Max Verstappen. Do we box or do we not? It's going to take at least 1 or 2 laps to warm up the dry tyres. But we do decide to stay out. We've got 6.5 seconds. And coming to the end of this lap, onto the second to last lap of the race. We've got 3.4 seconds, fastest lap of the race. So we're closing. Max Verstappen is looking like he's going to be staying out. Yellow flags. But that isn't for Max Verstappen. That was for Mr. Stroll on the side of the track, taking a stroll himself back to pit lane. But now you can see we are going to be riding on board until the end of this race. 1.5 seconds to Max Verstappen. The track is drying. The track is bone dry basically right now. So you're going to be able to see a good example of what I was talking about, how the intermediates and full wets act on a dry track. They're overheating. They're not providing the optimal grip for what they can do. But they are, like I say, they're so much better. We do the fastest lap as well because there's no dry runners at the moment setting fastest laps. But before, the tyres would overheat and become mushy and you'd have no grip and you'd be going like 10-20 seconds a lap slower. Whereas now, they're mushy, they're overheating, but they are still providing good grip. They're still acting like tyres, if you know what I mean by that. You see in real life that they can run the wet tyre on the dry track and they're not all over the place. You know, it's not grippy, but it's not all over the place. But speaking all over the place, we are all over the back of Max Verstappen. Up the hill, we're going to go to the outside. He does defend the inside. So good positioning from the AI. We're both basically completely out of the battery. We tried to go around the outside, look for the switchback, understeer, but Max Verstappen blocks the apex. And we're going to go to the outside. Aqua Minerale, we try to squeeze the gap. You see, we're going around the outside on the much better tyres. Max Verstappen sends it back up the inside. But we had the better line to get the track. You see loads of wheels up the hill as excitement takes over us. You see half a second right now. And now we just need to keep the car on the track for the final sector, and we'll be able to complete the last and first. Valtteri Bottas going over a second faster than us on his dry tyres. See 1.1 seconds to Max now. We just need to keep the tyres on the track and we'll be able to complete the challenge, like I say. But what an amazing race that was. Really highlights how good the AI are this game. A lot of oversteer out the final corner. But yeah, I am really impressed with the AI, how they've been able to improve their racecraft, their battling, how aggressive they are, how they're coming back in the braking zone, you know. They didn't really do that before. We saw so many times the AI fighting me back. But everyone, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment what you thought of the video, and I will see you next time. Glad to see you. Ciao, ciao.